So, when I looked at Shannon's book, I was scared to do this cocktail. Because, well, first of all, I wanted to do this one so bad because it's so incredibly intertwined with the history of tiki. This was widely considered the first tiki cocktail in its original form. However, it's got a garnish that's really overly complicated. If you've seen those ice cones, this is the cocktail that uses them. However, I decided, screw it, I'm just not going to do the ice cone. For two reasons. The first one is that I want to make these as simple as possible for you guys to make at home. And the second is I legitimately don't have the apparatus to do it. So, maybe I'll do that one day, but for right now, we're just going to do it over crushed ice. I haven't even introduced the cocktail yet, have I? Well, we're making the Navy Grog, or at least Shannon's interpretation of the Navy Grog. Every tiki bartender has their version of this cocktail, from Jeff Beachberry to Don Beach to Trader Vic. Everybody needs to have a version of Navy Grog, or at least some form of grog. I'll put a little description of the history of grog in the description, but I don't want to get into it right now. I just want to get into the cocktail. So let's do just that. Alright, starting with our cheapest ingredients first, as normal. We're going to start off with lime juice. Specifically, 3/4 of lime juice. Then we're going to do grapefruit juice. Now, if you have a chamber juicer, cutting grapefruit can be a little bit of a hassle. Only if you cut it in half though. So I cut it into quarters, and it's much easier to get the juice out like this. Especially with a fruit that big. And then you're able to just squeeze it just like any other citrus. We'll do 3/4 ounce of grapefruit juice as well. Then we're going to do 1 ounce of honey syrup. Now when I make syrups, typically I'll say to use a 1-to-1 ratio or a 1.5-to-1 ratio. For honey syrup, because I want that body that the honey gives, I use a 3-to-1 ratio, honey to water. Alright, next up we've got an interesting ingredient. 3/4 ounce of seltzer. This is traditional in grog. The original grog, as I'll say in the description, was just rum, water, lime, and sugar. So this is making it a little bit more traditional, but better. Then we're going to do 1 ounce of all of our main spirits. So we got 1 ounce of Jamaican rum. This is one of my favorites, by the way, Smith & Cross. If you can get a bottle of this, do that. And we're going to do 1 ounce of aged white rum, and since you know it's me, you know we're bringing out Plantaray. And then we're going to do 1 ounce of extra aged rum. This is a rum I don't bring out a lot because it's so high quality and you can't really find it anymore. But I figured for you and for Shannon, I'd bring it out. Also, it was a gift from my grandmother, so don't want to use too much of that. Alright, now we're going to do what's known as a whip, where we're going to take a little bit of pebble ice into the shaker, and we're going to add it in. I'm going to let it temper for a second while I grab the glass. Always keep your glassware chilled. And now we're just going to shake until the pebble ice is completely gone, or at least until it's mostly gone. This is going to really aerate the cocktail, especially that citrus. Just be careful if you don't have an airtight seal, especially considering we added that seltzer in there, and that can cause this to pop. Alright, I think we're there. You can already tell it's fizzing like a madman. So we can pour this right into the cocktail glass. Beautiful. And then we're going to want to pack as much ice as we can in there. I chose a bit of a smaller glass, so we're not going to get as much ice as I want in there, but we're still going to pack as much as we can. There's a big debate in the tiki world, that's probably as much as I'm going to fit in there, on whether you have a snow cap or not. I don't get into those arguments because I don't know enough for it. I just know that a snow cap gives you more dilution, so just be careful with that. There you guys have it, Shannon Mustipher's Navy Grog. One quick note before we taste it, Shannon uses white grapefruit juice. I couldn't find white grapefruit, so I'm using ruby red. Let's go ahead and taste her brilliance though. It's simple. Well, with all these ingredients, you might not be able to call it simple, but if you can really just use one rum, and this would still be a banger. However, with the rum blend that we used, it is absolutely delicious. The extra añejo rum adds a really nice barrel quality to it. The Jamaican and the Plantaray work together so well because Plantaray is part Jamaican. The only thing that I really don't understand is the seltzer. It's going to make it harder to shake, and it just lengthens the drink, which I don't like. Also, the lime and grapefruit come out brilliantly in this. Yeah, this cocktail is a banger, and you'd be doing yourself a disservice to not shake it up. All right. That's it for today. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and stay tuned for next week. Until then, cheers.